Okay, we're going to be solving quadratics by factoring. And I'll be using pencil because we'll do a little bit of trial and error. Okay, now the method that we use for solving on these quadratics here, what number, if you square it, multiply it by 3, and then multiply it by 8, then add those two results, and then add 5 will give you 0. What numbers would do that? With quadratics, there are typically two solutions, and factoring is going to be the way to find them. So we're going to factor this into two factors, and 3x squared, we'll say that was 3x times x. 5, let's try 1 times 5 for 5. We also have 5 times 1. So let's try 1 times 5. That will give us 1x, and that will give us 15x. And if you see here, signs have to be the same, and we have to get a positive 8x. So if I use positive here, I would get a 16x. That wouldn't match. So let's try 5 times 1 instead. 5 times 1. Okay. Oh, that's a bad eraser. Let's try another eraser. Maybe a little better. Alright, so this will give us 5x here. And this will give us 3x. And the same signs, we'll use positive and positive. And we do get a positive 8x. So a positive goes here, and a positive goes here. Now we're going to separate these two terms. We'll have a 3x plus 5. We're going to set that equal to 0. And then we'll take the x plus 1. We're going to set that equal to 0. And now we can solve for both. So we'll subtract 5 from both sides here. I'll get a 3x equals negative 5. Then I'll divide both sides by 3. This will give me x equals negative 5 over 3. If I subtract 1 here from both sides, I'll get x equals negative 1. And those are our two solutions. And just to show you that these will work, let's plug these into the original equation. 3x squared plus 8x plus 5. Let's see if that really does equal 0. So we'll have 3 parentheses squared plus 8 parentheses plus 5 equals 0. Let's put the negative 5 over 3 in here. Negative 5 over 3. And this becomes 3 times a negative 5 over 3 and a negative 5 over 3 plus an 8 times a negative 5 over 3 and then a plus 5, and we'll see if that equals 0. Okay, if I add a 1 here to a 3, we have all numerators, so we have a 5 times a negative 5 times negative, well, let's say 5 times 5, which is 25 times 3, which is 75. And then 1 times 3 times 3 is 9. Okay. And 2 negatives gives us positive. Here. Let's put a 1 under here. We'll get a 8 times 5, which is 40. We'll get a 1 times 3, which is 3. And 1 negative in here will give us negative. And then plus 5 equals 0. Okay, to get a common denominator, I need to multiply by 3 here. So multiplying by 3 gives me 75 over 9 minus 120 over 9 plus 5 equals 0. If I put these two together, I'll subtract, and 25 plus 20 is 45. So I'll get 45, a negative 45 over 9 plus 5 equals 0. And 45 divided by 9 is negative 5 plus 5 does equal 0. So we just check to see if this works. And you can also try the negative 1 to see if the negative 1 also solves this. Okay, we're going to factor this next one into two binomials. The The 5x squared, we'll make that 5x times x. And the 3, we're going to make that, I could have choices of 1 times 3 and 3 times 1. I'm going to choose the 3 times 1. Okay, so in the middle we get 3x. Outside we get 5x. We want to use same signs and get a -8. So if I use negative and negative, that becomes negative 8x. So it's negative first here and negative second there. Okay, so let's take this linear right here, 5x minus 3, set it equal to 0, and take this linear, x minus 1, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. So it's plus 3 on both sides here. We get 5x equals 3, and I divide both sides by 5, and I get x equals 3 over 5. Here I want to add 1 to both sides, and I'll get x equals 1. Next, we're going to take the 2x squared, and we're going to factor that into, let's see, well, the whole thing into 2 binomials, set equals 0. And 2x squared will be 2x times x. The 3, we have a choice of 1 times 3 and 3 times 1. I'm going to choose 1 times 3. Okay, this will give me a 1x. This will give me a 6x. And this tells me, the minus sign here, tells me I have to have different signs, and we want a positive 5x. So for different signs, the bigger sign will win to get positive, so we'll make this negative and this positive. And that combination does give me positive 5x. So it's going to be a negative first, which is here, then positive next. And now we're going to take the 2x minus 1, set that equal to 0. The x plus 3, set that equal to 0. So subtracting, adding 1 to both sides, we'll get rid of the -1. So we end up with 2x equals 1. Then to get rid of the multiplying 2, we use a dividing 2, and we'll end up with x equals 1/2. Here, to get rid of the adding 3, we'll use a subtracting 3 on both sides, and this will give us an x equals -3.